Today we're going to replace a broken bendix, more precisely a broken bolt on a broken bendix, in a 1931 Model A Ford. I believe the starters are the same, whether it's a 28, 29, 30, or 31 Model A. Today we're working on a 31. Here's my 31. To get the starters out, you just take out these 3 bolts that I've got stacked up right here. And they're pretty easy to find on the starter. The one thing extra you'll need is the extender for your ratchet. It's a 9/16 bolt, and you'll need an extender for the ratchet to get the 3 bolts out. The 3 bolts are, of course, right there, there, and there. So once it's out, prior to the job, you'll want to order up your new bendix, which is right here. This is the new bendix. It's got the little Made in USA flag on it, and it's slightly different from the old one in that this one, when you turn this, it compresses a spring, and with this one, the old one, it moves on this screw type assembly. The other thing is these bolts are a little smaller on the old one, and I'm not sure whether this might be one of the imported units. I'm not sure, but I assumed that it might, since it didn't look the same as the American-made version that you can buy at Snyder's. I assumed that it might be of lesser quality, although that may not be the case. But rather than try to replace the broken bolt, which is the problem, this is the bolt that broke off. When I took the starter out of the flywheel housing, I found this broken bolt sitting up against the flywheel, and of course that's my problem. When I hit the starter, it would whir, but the engine did not turn. So I knew the starter was turning, but the engine wasn't turning over. So I knew that I had a problem with my bendix. And so this turns out to be the issue. It's possible that one could just take the old bendix off and drill out, or not necessarily drill out, but remove the remainder of the broken bolt from the hole. The remainder of the bolt is still in there. And if you could get that out of there, you could probably just get a new bolt and put this thing back together, and it would probably work fine. I opted not to do that, but so I'm going to install a new bendix today, and I'm just going to put my phone up here between these 2 generator cutoffs that I've got in place on the bench to hold it, and here we go. So this is our new American-made starter bendix. And what we're going to do is remove the old one. Now, I've already removed this once, but I just put it back together temporarily. So since we had one broken, for the purpose of the video, and since we had one broken bolt, all we had to do was remove the other bolt, which was just a matter of finding the right size wrench and remove the bolt. And then this slides off, and then this slides off as well, and then you can get the rest of this off. And look, the key fell out. This is the key that goes in the keyway. It's called the starter drive key. It's part number A-11351. And when you order your bendix, you will probably want to also order a starter drive key, because there's a chance that it may have gotten lost either when the starter drive broke, or on the way out of the car to the bench, or coming off the bench. A little part like that for 40 some odd cents is worth replacing, or at least having a spare on hand. I try to reuse the old ones when I can. I bought the new one. It's still in the package, and I'll put that in my spare parts bin if I can use the old one, which we'll probably use today. So I've got the old bendix in its pieces off, and I'm just going to put that over here on the side of the bench and keep them safe for the time being, because you never know when you're replacing something when you're going to need a piece of the old part. So here's our new Bendix. This is what they look like when they come out of the package. If you're ordering from Snyder's, this is part number A-11350-USA. This is the one made in the United States, and it's slightly more expensive and possibly higher quality than the imported one, although, you know, once in a while I have gotten a part that is imported and of good quality, you know, in relation to one made in the U.S. But I always try to buy the American-made one because if we support our local industries, we will have them when we need them. And you're supporting your neighbors and employing your neighbors and keeping them, you know, in a job is a good thing. So, so here we have our new Bendix. As it comes out of the package, it looks like this. And the first thing you need to do is take a wrench. This one happens to be a 5/8, and you take off this outer bolt. When you get these parts, they come in one piece, and yet they have to be assembled on the starter in different pieces. So I'm going to just check my phone, make sure that we're getting the whole thing here. I think I need to turn this just a hair. There we go. Okay. And so this starter Bendix goes on like this, not like that. So the order in which this goes on is, first we take this off, we take this bolt out, the outer bolt, and don't lose that. This is the little special washer that has a small side piece on each side, and the one that's bent down will face downward, and the one that's facing outward will eventually be bent upward to hold this bolt in place. So we're just going to put that on the side like that. I'm going to make sure again we can see all this stuff. And here we go. What we'll probably do is just, we'll leave that for now. But I'm going to pull this off next, and then I'm going to pull the spring. Actually, the spring is all still one piece. So this will slide onto here. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of grease. I'm going to grease that up just a hair. And we're just going to slide this on just like that. And the next thing to go on is the key, which slides into the keyway, which I'll show that to the camera. The keyway is right there. Of course, that's in the shadow, but there it is right there. That's what the key goes into. So I'm going to turn the shaft. You can turn the shaft pretty easily here. And I'm going to turn it so it's facing upward just for ease. And we're going to slide that part on. And again, with the shaft key, the shaft keyway facing me upward here. Here's my key. And I'm going to put the key into the shaft keyway. And I'm going to squish it down in there. Now I lubed that already, but just for the sake of the camera, we're going to do it again. I'm a big fan of anti-seize lubricant, so I'm just going to put a little more anti-seize on that key. And we're going to drop it back in there, just like that. And of course she falls out because that's the way it goes. And then you're going to wipe the grease off your hands because that's gross. Got my rag here. And once that key is in place, this piece goes on with the bolt hole. There's this piece of the Bendix that we took off, and it has a keyway, goes all the way through, and it has a bolt hole on one end. You want that bolt hole to line up with the bolt hole on the end of the starter shaft, which is right there. But we'll line that up in a moment. The first thing you do is, if you line up with the keyway, it'll be in the right place anyway. So you line up the keyway with the key, and you slide that on there so that the keyway is right there and the key is right there. I'm going to slide that right on there like that. And I might have to tap that down in there just a little bit, that key. I'm going to do that. Sometimes it takes a little persuading. Get that out of there again. Try it again. Okay. Got the key back in there. Takes a couple of tries here. And we're going to again line up the keyway with the key. Might have to tap it just a little bit. And get the keyway lined up. And there she goes on. Right on. Perfect. And you get it so that the sleeve is about flush with the end of the shaft. And that will put the bolt hole in exactly the right place. Then you just rotate this spring portion. You hold this part here, turn this part here until it is lined up with the bolt hole on there. And in goes the bolt. And now what you do is tighten the bolt. And you tighten it to a point where you want this little tab to be bent up over this side of the bolt. Right here. This little tab bends over this side of the bolt. Any of the sides will do. And it'll end up like this one, where this little tab gets bent up and holds that bolt in place. So, therefore, when we're tightening the bolt, we want to tighten it to a point where we have a nice flat side right up against that tab. Like, I'm just going to put that down for a second. Put that right there again. And I'm just going to tighten that. There, bingo. Nice and tight. And then, just to be certain, I'm going to back that off a little more and make sure that, yeah, that's where I want it to be. It's nice and tight. We don't want to over tighten anything, but nice and tight is good. And then we're going to take this screwdriver and we're going to bend it up over the side of that bolt so that the screwdriver can, so the keyway and the key hold the bendix from moving on the shaft this way. And the bolt holds the bendix from moving on the shaft this way. And then this keeps the bolt from ever coming loose, this little tab. So we're going to bend that tab up. And once we do that, we're done. Then we install it back in the Model A. And there we have the installation of the bendix. So here we are again. I'm going to just bring this up closer to the camera, and we're going to bend the little tab up over the bolt and squeeze it tight. Yeah, there we go. All right, and there we have it. She's nice and tight. Both of the bolts have their tabs bent up to hold them in place firmly so that they can't move.